Oh, beware, my lord of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster, which doth mock the meat it feeds on. Or, some shit like that. Hey all, this is the One Nerd, and with the latest trend in animation sweeping the internet wrapping its first season, I thought I would give some thoughts on the whole Hazbin Hotel situation. A little in regard to the show, and a little to just talk about how people seem to be so angry about the weirdest things.
Hey, if I told you there was a place to stay that had none of that. Welcome to the Hazbin Hotel. Your last desperate attempt at salvation starts here.
So, what do you think?
First, I should start with building a base so you know where I'm coming from. If for some reason you don't know what Hazbin Hotel is, it started as a web cartoon pilot created by internet animator Vizzy Pop. The story of Charlie, the daughter of Lucifer and the Princess of Hell, who was set up a hotel to redeem lost souls so they may get a shot at heaven. The pilot was insanely popular and profitable as well, having a whole line of merch made in waves, including shirts, plushes, art prints, pins, and so on. I even own a few myself in the early days. Vizzy Pop would expand the universe with another pilot called Hell of a Boss, which would continue to air now as an indie web series. But Hazbin Hotel would end up getting picked up by a rising name in film and TV, A24, and would air as a full-blown series on Prime Video, the first season of which wrapped up with episode 8. I was a pretty big fan of the pilot, as mentioned, buying some merch to support the effort. I wouldn't say I got deep into the fandom in other ways, although Hell of a Boss is a bit different. Shout out to Jizoku on Patreon and Twitter. They make some of the best Luna art on the web, and their ongoing comic series is worth supporting, 100%. When the full-blown series was announced, I was excited to get to see it. It felt like another win for small creators getting their work noticed by mainstream outlets, along with projects like Smiling Friends, YOLO, and even stuff like Koala Man. FYI, Koala Man is a good watch. If you missed it, go watch it now on Hulu. Do it.
Help the innocent and snuff out evil. Grass is half a centimeter too long, mate. That was a close one.
Even Brad Neely of China, Illinois fame just came out with a new book about Ulysses S. Grant, which is fantastic. I fully recommend that book, and especially the audiobook as well, because Brad Neely actually narrates it, and he is fantastic. It's a great time for artists breaking out from the internet, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to support a project like this. Not to say that I entered into anything with rose-colored glasses, but there is a bit of hype and positivity, I won't lie. But despite that, I avoided seeing a lot of the episodes that ended up leaking early. I did see a few clips that I couldn't really avoid since some people were sharing them and talking about them, trying to torpedo the show before it even started. But before we get into that, I really need to actually get into how I feel about the real show. My ultimate verdict is I enjoyed it for what it was. It had a lot of good ideas, a solid ticking clock plot, and the characters and designs were top-notch to me. Plus, most of the songs were good enough to have me listening to them again and again after I watched the episodes. I'm hoping that with how much merch gets made of the show, we'll get a physical edition of the soundtrack sometime soon, and of course, hopefully, a physical version of the first season on Blu-ray. Overall, I liked it, and I'm hoping for more. But I do have a few issues with it, but of course a lot of them have to do with the sort of limitations that you get with dealing with a studio like this. Limited to only 8 episodes, it's clear that Viz and the team wanted to tell a much grander story, and wanted to be sure that they were to tell the entire story, or as much as they could in one season, lest they be cancelled too soon like many other shows of its kind. I've criticized animated projects in the past for relying too much on big studios, when a lot of the times they're only hindered by them. We've seen this many times before. Glitch Techs, Inside Job, Infinity Train, Final Space, even shows that did get an ending like OKKO and Owl House can still feel like a lot was rushed, or they didn't really want to do what they wanted to do when they were hindered to tell a complete story of any kind. But with A24 taking a chance in the animated space, I can understand wanting to start small with only 8 episodes. And with it being so successful, being number 1 in animated premieres, it's safe to say that we could expect more from the franchise in the near future. Would I call this the best show I've ever seen? No, but it's certainly not as bad as some people on Twitter are making it seem. I alluded to it before, but I think jealousy has everything to do with it. All sorts of people seem to have different reasons. I won't call out anyone specific because, as I've mentioned before, this isn't that kind of channel. But I've seen various reasons, including people seeming not to like a popular thing and it being too popular with the gays. Now, obviously, I can't say for sure any of these reasons are valid or real, but the pattern exists. Some of these critiques are really, really petty. I also don't want to make it seem like anyone who criticizes the show has some of these hangups. I have a mutual on Twitter who has given the show some flack, but in some valid critiques, and they're still finding something to like about it. I think the first real critique I saw popping up about the show that annoyed me was the fact that it swears a lot. This is by far the stupidest critique of any show, especially considering it doesn't have any more swearing than your average adult cartoon. Hell, I think something like Big Mouth or the various Brickleberry knockoffs blow it out of the water in that regard. Plus, getting mad about swearing just comes off as a 90s parent clutching at pearls. Let's not forget that a wise rapper once said,
Will Smith don't got a cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do, so fuck him and fuck you too.
What's nice is that Hazbin Hotel social media has embraced this by releasing little swear jar videos.
Oh, what the fuck? Holy shit!
The fuck is this?
An asshole.
Fucking shitballs.
Going forward, their critiques did not get much better. The next one was about supposedly making heaven look like the bad guys and hell look like the good ones. This was more based on the intro to the first episode that got leaked, and seems to bring up people either thinking it should be done the way that they would do it, or it not matching exactly the way the mythology is written in the Bible. First, let's be clear. Anyone who says heaven is the bad guys in the show didn't actually watch the show, or just watched a few clips of Adam and assumed everything they needed. Second, the Bible doesn't exactly give you a lot to work with in regards to heaven and hell either. Depending on the translation, hell isn't even really a thing in the Bible. That's one of the reasons I don't personally believe in it. Speaking of, Viz clearly doesn't believe in the whole heaven and hell thing, and is not trying to convert people into worshipping demons or some crap. They're just taking elements of a mythology that they find interesting and making a new story out of it. This is like criticizing Hercules by saying that Hades and Zeus were not portrayed accurately. It's just a nonsense critique. Getting mad at God of War or Percy and the Lightning Thief for not being accurate to the mythology is just dumb. Wrapped into that is the plotline of the show. Charlie sets up a hotel because she believes that any soul can be redeemed, which is something I personally believe as well. Not to get too spicy with this take, and it's certainly not going to be the full extension of what I believe, but I believe that literally anyone can be redeemed and changed if given enough time, support, and resources. But of course, that's impossible in a lot of cases, since it would take an unlimited amount of resources and time. So while I personally think that everyone can get a redemption, and everyone more than likely will get a redemption at some point, many won't be able to get that or have the ability to get it until after they pass. Now, in the pilot, Viz included a reference to a real-life serial killer in a joke about a cannibal cooking segment.
You're here because Jeffrey couldn't make it for his cannibal cooking segment.
References like this were removed from the show proper, and it is said that Viz regrets this joke. I think the reason for this is because of situations like this. Since the show is about redemption and saving souls, many are mocking it by assuming a statement is being made, intentionally or not, that people like Hitler or Jimmy Savile are just misunderstood and are really innocent. Now, looking past my own spicy takes I alluded to before, Viz clearly doesn't want to get into this and didn't want to make this what the show was about. She thought people would take it way too seriously and be really annoying about it. And she was right. Of course, as pointed out by another one of my Twitter mutuals, the show has a natural excuse for why these real-life evil figures may not be in the show. There's a tradition that every year, Adam and his group of exorcist angels come down to hell for an extermination, a massacre where they will kill as many residents of hell as they can to prevent overpopulation. As mentioned in the show, if you're killed again in hell during this event, you are dead for real, meaning it seems to destroy your soul. Reminds me of a similar concept in Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, or the vastly underrated Drive Angry. So, since souls can be killed for real, it is safe to say that the really evil ones would have been taken out early. Not to mention we've also seen Alistair's backstory, that overlords have come and go and some old guard were taken out by Alistair himself. Who's to say Hitler was not an overlord for a bit, before being made to scream in an unholy radio broadcast? Point is, We can all have our own headcanon on the subject if we want, but wanting Viz to address something about a mythology she doesn't want to for the sake of owning her is also petty and dumb. If this show isn't for you, I can understand. Not everything is going to be for everyone's taste. And if you have an actual real critique of the show, I'm willing to hear it out. But when you have to share an image of St. Peter and imply that since you think heaven is evil, and the show has St. Peter look like a white guy with blonde hair, that must mean the creators are saying that white heterosexual men are evil. That is just straight up slander. Because you're either too lazy to actually watch the show, or you're straight up lying so you can get outrage clicks. I would encourage everyone to give Hazbin Hotel a chance, if you haven't already. It's a nice watch if you like musicals, interesting character work, and want a little chuckle. If you don't like it, that's fine too, but giving it a chance may be the first step to expanding horizons to new shows, and new things to try, maybe even making your own plot and characters. If you have any thoughts about Hazbin Hotel or just want to call my ideas stupid, feel free to leave a comment below. And don't forget to give me a like and a sub for more content in the future. This is The One Nerd, and I hope you get everything you've ever wanted in life.